Today, I'll be presenting coffee. Coffee is a plant with the common name Arabica coffee, Arabica, and coffee. Its scientific name is Coffea arabica and Coffea canephora. It is part of the Rubiaceae family. Coffee is a global commodity, and it has been since it first began to be commercially cultivated in the 16th century in Yemen. There have been many controversies surrounding coffee since the 16th century, and these controversies surrounded themselves around the ideas of social order, identity, health, social justice, and development. The coffee tree is about 9 to 22 feet tall. It has evergreen leaves, and it grows mostly in elevated mountains with forests. It also grows across the globe in all sorts of different tropical nations. Coffee remains to grow wild in Ethiopia since it can self-fertilize with pollen from the same flower. However, in most tropical nations, it is grown in plantations that are in the highlands and plantations that are in the lowlands, and it is cultivated and domesticated. The cultivation process of coffee goes through a set of processes. The cultivation process starts with germinating of the coffee seeds, and the cultivation goes on for about 5 years before the tree becomes mature enough to produce red cherries that will be picked and processed and then roasted for us to drink. Weeding and pruning are one of the most important aspects of the cultivation process. Their methods vary from nation to nation and region to region within the nations themselves. Coffee started being grown in southern Ethiopia in a town named Kaffa. It was a legend there that a goat herd named Kaldi was the one who saw goats around him dancing and was perplexed by why they were doing this, and so he took the cherries, and then it spread to his surrounding areas and later to Arab traders. These traders were said to be from Yemen. So Yemen in the 16th century began commercially cultivating coffee, and then it spread to the Arabian Peninsula, and from there it spread to Europe, and the European countries then spread it across their colonies, and there became a boom in Latin America. Venezuela was surprisingly the country that was leader in coffee production, unlike it is today with Brazil leading the force. There have been many traditional uses for coffee over the centuries, but one of the many well-regarded aspects of coffee has been its medicinal use, and it was first recorded in a text by the Arab physician Avicenna, where he put down in his text saying, "Coffee, it fortifies the members, it cleans the skin and dries up the humidity that are under it, and gives an excellent to all the body." The traditional use of coffee go beyond medicine. It is a social drink. Communities gather around and enjoy drinking this plant. So the community gatherings led to the coffee house phenomena that has been around the globe for the past 500 years. The industrial drink is also coffee. Coffee is an industrial drink because has been pushed by the industrial machine of the West for its help in productivity and efficiency of its workers. These are the different types of coffee making machines around the globe. There is a Chemex on the top right, the Ethiopian coffee ceremony in the top middle, and the Italian espresso on the top left, the French press, the Turkish coffee maker in the bottom middle, and the Italian mocha express on the bottom top right, bottom left. Caffeine is one part of the puzzle that impacts coffee. There are more pharmacological active compounds like carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, amino acids, and vitamins and alkaloids and different volatile compounds that really come together in coffee. These active compounds have really influenced the roasting process and the brewing methods and what happens and what taste we get after the roasting is done. The controversy that has surrounded coffee has been about the health, its risks or its benefits. We're going to explore the risks before we get to the benefits. Some of the risks that have been highlighted in recent studies is the coffee's role in increasing blood pressure, coffee's dependency and addictive nature, the risks during pregnancy, and the exacerbation of disease. Among sporadic consumers, caffeine causes physiological responses that include temporary increases in blood pressure. And this has led to conclusions in some studies that increase in blood pressure comes from consumption of coffee. However, other studies have argued that the habitual coffee drinkers do not show an increase in blood pressure, so it's just the sporadic consumers. So there's still so much more studying to be done on this topic. On the topic of dependence and withdrawal, coffee consumption may lead to dependence as dopamine receptors and blood vessels adapt to the presence of caffeine, and when denied their normal coffee intake, some coffee drinkers just can't cope. They have muscle pain, fatigue, nausea, and all sorts of issues that give them symptoms of withdrawal. The symptoms of coffee withdrawal are obviously not as vivid and real and hurtful as withdrawal symptoms of cocaine and heroin. Another risk that is attributed to consumption of coffee is the risk during pregnancy. This is very uncertain, but some studies have shown that coffee doesn't just affect the person who's drinking it, but rather a woman who can drink about 3 cups a day can possibly get an abortion or have a child that's with low birth weight. Another risk that's attributed to coffee is the exacerbation of disease. And the exacerbation of disease is actually even riskier when a person has nutritional deficiencies. Elderly people with calcium and vitamin D deficiencies face a greater risk of hip fracture if they consume coffee. And coffee is also said to interfere with iron absorption, so people taking iron supplements should avoid drinking coffee. But like we said, coffee is not all bad, and there are some benefits. Like we all college students use coffee to stimulate ourselves and stay awake, and the stimulation comes from the caffeine. And as you begin to drink coffee, the caffeine triggers the release of dopamine, which is dopamine is a brain chemical that stimulates a part of the brain that governs alertness, problem solving, and sensation of pleasure. Coffee also has antioxidants in it, so it helps fight cancer or decreases the chances that people might get cancer. And so studies have been showing the role that antioxidants have been playing in coffee. Other exciting studies that are being done that are proving that coffee is helping with fighting disease or preventing disease are studies done through about type 2 diabetes, Parkinson's disease, and liver cancer. Type 2 diabetes, the risk has been shown to fall, and it is clearly in the study that the filtered coffee versus boiled coffee. So the boiled coffee drinkers are said to be more likely to develop type 2 diabetes than filtered coffee because of the level of chemical clarity. But more needs to be done on the chemical analysis and the physiological processes that have made these differences. Parkinson's disease has been studied over the past 30 years, and gradually it has been suggested that regular consumption of coffee can decrease the disease because coffee is said to protect the neural functions, and the caffeine in coffee mainly is the one attributed to protecting. Studies have also shown that liver cancer can be decline if consumption of coffee is increased, but the researchers are not yet sure why this is the case. But they have hypotheses that it can affect the chemical processes that liver damage that is caused by alcohol consumption or other risk factors. Today, coffee is the second most valuable commodity traded on world markets. It is second only to petroleum in international trade with a volume of about 122,060 kilo bags a year. Despite this, though, many countries that produce coffee remain poor, and the 20 million plus coffee farmers live under $2 a day. And coffee growers' dependence on cheap labor creates a paradox of wanting to sustain a cheap labor force and not really developing a program to uplift the poor out of this condition. But coffee has helped become a backbone of different economies because it gives the foreign exchange currency. So in the past decades, there have been so many strides made scientifically in addressing the health risks and benefits, but there are still some challenges because no cup is the same, the roast profiles are different, and the chemistry changes with coffee. Scientists are trying to deal with really having their study be uniform and have their participants take part in it in a fashion that will lead to a study that has clear factors and players within its parameters. And moving forward, the economy and environment is an issue, and development is also an issue. Thank you.